Hello and welcome back to another episode of Trackside Tips. My name is Storm Dafoe and I am joined again by Don McDougall, who is the Vice President of ASHA, and Fred Gillis, who is the Executive Director of ASHA. We're here to talk about opening day at Century Mile for the Standardbreds. Who wants to start?
Go ahead, Fred.
First off, I talked to most of the horsemen in the last few weeks, and they're super excited. We've been waiting for this track for quite some time. It's here. They're ready to go. I think everybody's excited, and I think we're going to have a heck of a good meet.
Definitely.
I think the crowds look like for thoroughbreds, they were outstanding. Lots of people there, lots of new people to the races. We'll have a little bit of educating to do to the clientele there. That's what makes it fun, starting with a new group of people and stuff and reintroducing them to standardbred racing in Leduc.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, race number one.
Race number one is Fillies and Mares, non-winners, a 6 race with money tied to it. Who'd you go with in here, Fred?
I went with the hot stable from Century Downs. First win at the new track for Standardbred, Mike and Rod Hennessy. Well, how could you go against them? They won driver-trainer here, father and son. Go away and play. First win on that track.
I think if I remember right, Fred, didn't Rod Hennessy win the first race at Century Downs here?
Very possible.
I actually think Rod drove the winner again. So just like normal, you're going with chalk. My pick is going to be My Day out of the Crump Barn. I heard from an inside source that Phil Giesbrecht was still kind of on lake days, got a piece of mud thrown in his eye his last start. It was definitely driver error for the horse in the last little bit. So I think My Day is going to have an improved effort, and I think this horse is going to be close to the front. I think Phil will give the horse a nice, consistent steer, and I think this horse is going to be the first race. Small barn win in the first race at Century Mile. How much better could it be?
Or he'll find another excuse.
Sorry, Phil. Race number 2 is the first of 3 divisions of the Alberta Starburst 2-year-old fillies. Fred, who'd you come up with here?
Father and son team, 2 in a row. Mike and Rod Hennessy, right back. Blue Star Dreaming, first division of the 2-year-old filly stake. She's the one to beat.
Did Rod tip you before they started these?
I can't give away privileged information.
I'm going to go with a horse that made a break in its last start, but still came on and won for the Haining Barn. LA Woman, driven by Jerry Houdon. I think this horse stays flat, could be even more impressive this week. So that's my pick for this race.
The tip on that is the only blue burner in the stake for fillies.
There you go, too. Race number 3, the second division of the 2-year-old fillies. Fred?
It's probably a couple horses in here, Don. I'm going to go with Keith Clark, Snow Shark. I'll give her a heads up over the rail horse, I think, who's probably the chalk. But Snow Shark, when she's good, she impressed me, and I'm going to stick with her.
Yeah, she was very impressive the first couple starts. I'm definitely going to go with the rail horse. Custer's Crown has been a really impressive filly so far. We have a horse in this race, Jaden Riley, drew outside, drew the toughest field, so we're hoping to get a trip along here and stuff. But there's some good fillies inside this race. I think this race will go a very good time.
Yeah, definitely. I have to go with you, Don, for my pick of the day. Custer's Crown, really impressive 2-year-old filly. It's gone 2 for 2 in stakes races so far, with a mark of 56-4 at Century Downs. So it'll be interesting to see what she does.
Yeah, I think she's going to be a good pick for sure. And the 4th race is the last division of the Starburst fillies for the day. Who do you go with, Fred?
Treasure Horizon. She's raced here, looked super impressive. Nice filly. I was the underbidder at the sale, so I've watched her really close training down. I've always quizzed Dave on it. I think she's a kind of filly that will get a little better with a little more racing, and I'm going to go with her.
I think I've heard that from a lot of people. You're always the underbidder, right? That's a good way of saying I didn't step up to the plate and buy this horse. I also am going with that horse in this race, Treasure Horizon, and I also think it's a really good story based on the stable that it's in and the group of people that are involved in them. An East Coast group, the Dave Kelly's has a barn. They have a few horses under different stable names, but their first one was the RU Stable, which is a pretty cool name, pretty punny name if you want to go by that. But I just think they're good for the sport, seeing groups like that get together, are out cheering on their horse every week and stuff. So, and did win its division not last week. But I just think this horse really stands out in this field.
Definitely.
5th race, Fillies and Mares, non-winners of 4. This is a very competitive race in my opinion. Fred, who do you like?
Who I like and who I'm going to pick could be a little different, but I think it's time to test Black Cheddar, severely test. I think they bought this filly with an idea of subbing her into some races. She hasn't shown enough probably yet. I think they're going to blow the carbon out of her and see where they're at with her.
Yeah, I think for sure they did buy. I actually talked to Jim Marino, and I know they did buy that horse to race in the Gordon Isla Rumple just a little bit ago here in Calgary. I'm also going to take a horse that was bought out of Ontario, and good chance it could be subbed in to the filly pace, the Don Byrne Memorial coming up. A horse named Flash a Smile, who's on the outside. First 2 starts since it's come from Ontario, extremely impressive, winning both races by open lengths. Draws the outside, which is a little bit more difficult, but on a mile track with a big long stretch and not quite getting to the corner so quick, I think this horse could be really competitive in here.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
6th race, 10 to 12,000 claimers, also filling with non-winners of 7. Fred, this is a very tough race in my mind. Who do you come up with?
There's a couple of nice, actually 2 of the best 3-year-olds, I think, in here. But I went with Yankee Up. I think he's a solid racehorse. He's 4 now. He raced in the stakes all last year, got a break. He's back, looks good, looks in form. And I think from the 9 hole, he'll get a pretty good trip and get the job done.
Yeah, I also went with an older horse in here. As you said, there's some 3-year-olds in here. I think they'll all be trying to get a start before the Western Canada Pacing Derby and get tight. But I'm going to go with an old horse. His name is Senga Nitro. Always pacing down the lane, always has a lot of finish to him. With the big stretch at Century Mile, I think this track will suit him perfectly. Also raced really good in California on a mile track too. So Senga Nitro is my pick in the 6th race. 7th race is Fillies and Mares, 16,000 claiming. I'm going to go start this one off. I'm going to take a 3-year-old that to me has been very impressive so far this year. Her name is Rockin' Mystery. Serge Massé, who hasn't been at the races for a good couple months since probably BC, making comeback this weekend starting at Century Mile. He's up to drive this horse for Chris Lancaster. I think this horse will be stellar this week.
Yeah.
And one thing about Chris, I'm going to pick Rockin' Mystery. Chris sends them out. They're honed tight. They don't need a trip. They fire. His horses are ultra tight when he puts them behind the gate.
Okay, the 8th race, Fillies and Mares Open. To me, this is a really, really interesting race. Mix of young, old horses. Fred, who was your pick in here?
It's tough, you know. Again, Lady Nene has the rail. Chris has them ready. She's beat the Open before. But I can't go against Taj Miller, even though she's been off. She was just the best mare in Western Canada for like 4 years, and I can't go against her.
Yeah, there's also some really impressive 3-year-olds in this race stuff. I went with a long shot in this race. At least I think it'll be a long shot based on the betting, based on other horses. I went with Big Sure. Again, out of the Chris Lancaster barn. But this is a tough mare that's raced really hard all meet here in Calgary. Lots of wins, lots of finishes and stuff, and another horse that was flying coming down the lane almost every week and stuff. And based on the new track there and the new big long stretch, I think this horse will really fit in this kind of class.
Yeah, for sure. I think that my long shot's going to have to be in this race with Big Sure. You know, raced tight all meet here at Century Downs and winning lots of races and competitive with every start. And you know, Taj has had some time off, and so I think that there might be a fitness advantage here.
No, and I think it's a good long shot pick because the fitness of Taj is unknown, and time will tell.
Race number 9 for the final day at Century Mile is claiming $16,000 race for boys. And Fred, I just feel chalk coming out of your veins.
Yeah, you're right, Don. Classy horse, classy artist. I think he closes out the day. He's just a real nice horse that races consistent, super consistent actually, and I believe he gets the job done.
This horse definitely haunts my veins. It haunts my blood. A horse that I got Scottish on, wouldn't pay the price for. Jerry tried to get me to claim this horse. I was stubborn and didn't. And look at this horse now. Just so, in spite of that horse, I'm going to pick Canadian Pharaoh on the rail. An aggressive horse that came out of the Chris Lancaster barn, was down in Ontario this summertime, tried his hand against a little bit better ones. Now back out here in Alberta. Aggressive driver Serge Massé, so I'm going to pull for a little bit of an upset in the last race, and I hope Classy Artist finished last.
And as you said earlier, it's like being the underbidder at the yearling sale.
That's the truth.
Well, Fred and Don, thank you so much. It will be really exciting to see the opening day at Century Mile for the Standardbreds. I'm very excited.
Really looking forward to it. It'll be definitely different racing than what people have seen with the big long stretch and stuff. And I truly think it'll take at least a couple weeks for people to figure out exactly what horses to try to get on up there. that's part of the fun of it, right?
Definitely, definitely. Well, post time on Sunday up at Century Mile is at 1:15 p.m. My name is Storm Dafoe, and we will see you at the races.